I don't know who needs to hear this, but adulting can be hard. What was that meme that I heard? Adulting is trash. Do not recommend 1 star on Yelp. Now, when you add ADHD to that mix, it can be extra special hard. But today I'm going to share 8 self coaching questions that can help you grow past the hard parts because we all deal with those in life, whether you have ADHD or not. And if we haven't met before, my name is Karen McGill. I am an ADHD coach and I help busy, ambitious brains get snizzled on, even when adulting gets in the way. So, before we jump into the 8 self coaching questions that I have for you, I would just invite you to hang out with me over here on Instagram. I don't follow any of the Instagrammy rules. I just like hanging out with my peeps. So, you can find me there. Let's move on to these 8 questions. And the first one is always, how am I feeling? I know it sounds kind of Captain Obvious, but we very often are up in our heads and we don't even think about what's happening below the neck. And there's a lot going on there that's informing what's going on up here. So it's really critical when you're in moments of, let's say, distress or emotional dysregulation or just not feeling yourself, before you start beating yourself up, ask yourself, have I eaten? Have I slept well? Have I moved my body? Or am I dehydrated? All of these things have so much to do with cognitive performance and emotional stability and focus and attention. When you aren't taking care of the fundamentals, you're not even giving yourself a chance to show up as your best self. Sleep is critical for cleaning out all of the plaque that builds up in your brain. Hydration is important because it keeps blood flow going. Same thing with exercise, and proper nutrition is so important. And if you find that you're in a bad place on a particular day, at a particular moment, come back to those fundamentals and see if you can't fix something by moving, taking a big drink of water, maybe taking a nap, or having a hot meal. The next question is more of a power habit, and it is really, really important for those of us with ADHD, but for all people. That is to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. It starts with a pause in any moment, whether it's a moment where you are berating yourself or you're feeling emotionally dysregulated or you're ruminating on something, or even if you're feeling good. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to in that moment. And if you are beating yourself up, if you're thinking about all the reasons why you can't move forward or you can't be successful, then that's just a thought that's going to perpetuate that action. However, if you can at least change your thought to a neutral space, then you have a chance of making change in the moment. Guys, our behaviors, our actions are all fed through our thoughts. So it starts in the moment when you are having a negative thought or an unhelpful thought to pause, pay attention to what you're thinking. Obviously, you can't stop your thoughts, but you can redirect them. You can absolutely redirect them. It is a power habit and it is something that is available to all of us, and it can change your life. It can change your relationships with yourself, with other people. It can change how you show up in the world, and it can actually change whatever it is you are currently manifesting. So if you want a better life, if you want to live intentionally, it's important that you're actually paying attention to what you're doing in the moment so that it aligns with your intention. The next question really aligns to what I just shared, and that is whatever I'm doing in this moment lighting me up or draining me? I talk a lot about burnout, which at its core is basically just a drain of energy with no thought towards refilling that energetic cup, if you will. And the reason that we find ourselves in burnout so often is that we're not really aware of what we're doing in a day and how that is impacting our energy. Sometimes we're just there scrolling on our phone and Instagram or Facebook, but we're not thinking about, how am I feeling as I'm doing this? Is it making me feel connected to my friends and family? Or is it making me feel like crap because I'm not doing all these wonderful things that other people are doing? And the more we drain our energy, when you add that to, let's say, work that doesn't really align to your interests or relationships that you're in that don't really align to who you are, and you can't feel like yourself in those relationships, all of these things are draining your energy. Obviously, we all have things in life that we need to do that we don't necessarily want to do. But if there's no balance between those things that suck our energy and those things that light us up and give us energy, then burnout is going to continue to happen every single time. So as you're pausing to pay attention to what you're paying attention to in the moment, ask yourself, is what I'm doing lighting me up or sucking the life out of me? I love this next self coaching question because it is just so apropos for those of us with ADHD, but really for anybody who has a curious mind. Why does this matter? So, when you have ADHD, we generally think we have two on switches for our brain. We can do things when we're interested in them or when there's like an urgent dumpster fire happening and we have to pay attention to it. But the third way to switch on your brain is to connect the dots between what it is you have to do and why it's important to you. And if you know the why behind something and it matters to you, then you can actually do it. So, whenever you're finding yourself in a struggle to move forward, ask yourself, why is this important to me? And you might even realize that is not important to you. And maybe you don't have to get it done. Maybe it's just something that you thought you had to do because you thought you had to do it. So, this is a great way to really understand why you're doing the things you're doing and whether or not they align to what it actually is that you want to be, do, and have in your life. The next self-coaching question that I ask all of my coaching clients actually is, what does success look like? This is so important for all of us because we have these ideas of success, but they're very elusive and kind of cloudy. So when we get to some level of success, we have no idea because the goalpost has moved. And then we just keep pushing the boulder uphill, thinking there's going to be some apex where success is going to happen, but we haven't defined what that is. So it never happens. What I would ask you in terms of anything that you want in life, be very explicitly clear about what success looks like. For example, let's say I started a YouTube channel today and I had no subscribers. I would say to myself, success might look like 1,000 subscribers. Then I get to 1,000 subscribers, but I see everybody else around me has 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 subscribers. So my goalpost has completely changed, and I have not taken a second to high five myself for creating 1,000 subscribers on my channel. This is so important when you are someone who is quick to think that you don't have any successes and you're not good at anything and you haven't made much of yourself. Chances are you actually have. Chances are you're kind of brilliant at something, but you never give yourself credit for it because you haven't defined success for yourself. So, this is something that you can easily coach yourself on. Open a journal, start a new page in your Word document, and write out what success looks like. Give it a rough timeline, and then start working towards it. So, aligned to your definition of success, if you get stuck, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, or you have so many tasks that you struggle to prioritize, you just can't move forward in any direction, the next question you should ask yourself is, what is the very next step? So, if you struggle with prioritization, organization, staying focused on one single task, then you just get overwhelmed and paralyzed. So, when you are in those positions, the best thing you can do is say to yourself, calm down. What is the next best thing I can do that will move me in the direction of my goal? Because look, there's a million different ways to get from where you are to where you want to go. And you don't need to know all of the steps. You just need to know the very next step to take. And that will keep you moving forward with momentum. And eventually, you will find yourself where you want to go. And when you find yourself in those situations where you know what the next step is, but it's hard and it's really difficult for you to get the motivation to get going, the next question to ask yourself, and I think this is like the magic question, is, how can I make this easier? I used to talk about this when I had weight loss clients who just felt like dieting was such a drag. I would ask them, well, how can you make your change of diet a little bit easier for yourself? Is it getting a meal plan? Is it getting a meal service? Is it doing something very small? Is it focusing on one meal at a time? There's a million different ways that you can look at change and transformation, and it doesn't have to suck, believe it or not. So I would ask you, how do you make a process easier? How do you make it simpler, more sparkly, more interesting, more ADHD friendly? Ask yourself that question and see what comes up. You might be surprised to find out that you have the creative brain that can come up with a million different ideas on how to make a process more interesting to you. And the last question I ask all of my ADHD coaching clients is, how are you going to remember this? So let's say you've come up with a few aha moments throughout this entire video. You might think, that's a great idea. I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. And then 3 minutes later, it is gone and forgotten because our short term memory is not great. So it's really important that you set up your environment in life to always have somewhere where you can capture an idea and remind yourself. Maybe it's your phone or an Apple Watch or just a notepad and pen that you always have with you. I use Alexa an awful lot because she's in every room of my house. And I just find those things super helpful for gathering thoughts and ideas that resurface later. Now, you have to get into a habit of doing that, and you've got to find your own workflow and process that works for you. But this is so critically important. Don't let those little nuggets of wisdom pass you by because you forgot to write them down. Create opportunities for you to capture ideas, keep them in some place that you can review them later. And you will find that this is really the key to always moving forward, always seeing some level of transformation. Even if it's really small, forward momentum is exactly that. You're always growing. So I hope you found those self coaching questions helpful. If you did, please let me know. Hit like, subscribe, all of those things. Find me on Instagram. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.